Settle down and let Deputy McDonald make her point, would you please? Thank you very much. We'd all want to hear. Thank you.
I'm sure they do, Ceann Corley.
I don't know. You must be wound up before you come in here. Do you wind yourselves up or what? It's the same little group here, or else change places. It must be the area sitting. Deputy McDonald, thank you.
Gurmagad Ceann Corley, Taoiseach, in a huge blow to your misguided water charges policy, Irish Water has finally revealed that it only managed to collect from 43% of households targeted to pay. This, despite the extraordinary lengths to which your government has gone to force those households to pay. In the face of widespread rejection of your water tax, you resort to coercion, or so you thought. This week, you're ramming through legislation to pickpocket the income of already hard-pressed citizens to prop up your discredited Irish Water quango. You hoped that this would frighten a significant number of people to pay the bills which they received. But you were wrong. That didn't happen. And this Taoiseach represents more than a challenge to you, to your government and to Irish Water. You have in fact been told in no uncertain terms that your water tax is going nowhere. You've been told that families across this state are not cowed by Minister Kelly's threats or indeed by your bribes. So who are this 57% of people who have not paid? Well, Taoiseach, they're not people who, as you assert, don't want to pay for anything. You regularly level that insult at families. In my experience, they're a mixture of people who won't pay on principle, because they pay already through general taxation, because they believe that water is a human right, and because they oppose privatisation of that vital service. And as I have explained to you many, many times, Taoiseach, there are many families who simply cannot pay. They simply don't have the money, the €3 or the €1 a week that you are so glib about.
Thank you.
And why don't they have it, Taoiseach? They don't have it because they have been screwed by your government over the last 4 years and they have nothing left to give. Taoiseach, you really thought that you'd gotten away with this, didn't you? You really thought that the cosmetic changes introduced by Minister Kelly last year would thwart the anti-water charges campaign. Well, Taoiseach, you were wrong. In fact, the Popular Citizens campaign against this unjust, unfair tax has not gone away. If anything, it has grown in strength and support. Only last week, the trade unions reaffirmed their strong opposition to water charges. Did you hear them say that, Taoiseach?
Sorry, Deputy, we're over time.
The Right to Water campaign will stage another major public demonstration next month on the 29th of August. I hope Fianna Fáil will be there now, having had a conversion to an anti-water charges campaign.
Would you please put your question?
So, Taoiseach, my question is this, Ceann Corley Gurmahagut. Taoiseach, will you now do something refreshing and perhaps even out of character? Will you move to end the sorry saga that is Irish Water? Will you finally acknowledge that your government's efforts to bribe, to coerce and intimidate families into complying with your water tax have failed? And will you now go back finally to the drawing board and abolish these charges?
Taoiseach.
Sometimes I get amused at you, Deputy McDonald, when you're clearly in competition with other opposition parties to make some publicity for yourselves. You actually are the Deputy Leader of a party which proclaimed itself that all its members are legislators and that you would pay the water contributions. And then when you got caught out by Deputy Murphy on the further left wing, you decided that this was be a populist thing to say, to oppose this. And of course you're followed then by the representatives of the soldiers of destiny to say, well, we favoured water charges, but we think they should be abolished. And the consequence, of course, is that you increase income tax. Now, yesterday, Deputy McDonald, yesterday I gave you full marks for your at your mathematics exam when you were dividing up the time for the amendments on a particular bill. But I think it's 46% of expected revenue that Irish Water have confirmed has been received, not 43%. And I again would like to thank the 675,000 householders who have made their contribution. Quite a number of people have only received bills in the very recent past, and obviously we expect more people to contribute to what is a very important entity for Ireland. But we've been very clear about the charges, and I don't say this glibly as you remark. And the charge is €1.15 or €3 per week, which is a very modest contribution out to 2019, and that's a fixed position. And people know exactly where this is headed, in the sense of being provided with clean water and proper wastewater treatment facilities around the country. Now, as I said, the government have been very clear here not to increase income taxes like the Fianna Fáil party want to do, obviously, and like your own party want to do. Though I was interested in your comment on the 2nd of February, when you were asked about this yourself. When you were asked about this yourself, like when you were asked how would the Sinn Féin pay for Irish? How would the Sinn Féin party pay for Irish water
give it to somebody
and provide
else,
facilities around the country? And your answer was very clear. You said we would be looking at all forms of formula that would achieve that. I'm not sure what that means, but insofar as the government are concerned, Irish Water have now received 46% of their expected revenue, as 675,000 households, representing 2 million people. The contributions here are very fair. The government have been quite clear that water will not be cut off, people will not be sent to jail. The contribution is very modest, and it's for a very good cause for all our people and for our country for the next 20 to 50 years. So I hope and expect that more people will continue to pay their bills, to register and contribute to what is a fundamentally important entity for the future.
Deputy McDonald, 1 minute, thank you.
I hate to break it to you, Taoiseach, but I think you're going to be sorely disappointed if that is sincerely your hope. You have comprehensively failed to win the support of the people for the introduction of this charge. What you have left them with is a quango of enormous proportions, controversies around consultancy fees, and so on, meters in the ground that cost a fortune that aren't being used, lead piping hither, tither and yon, which represents a threat to people's health and safety.
Question, please. Thank you.
You've done this against a backdrop. You've done this against a backdrop of endless austerity, where you and your cronies in government have stuck your hand in the pockets of working people.
Sorry. I expect more from ministers, especially, to lead by example. It's a hard enough job to sit here and try and keep order, but when I have ministers heckling, it's a big problem.
So
now, would you please finish your point? Your time is up.
Thank you, Ceann Corlett. So your strategy seems to have been that you would buy off one half of the population with your €100 water conservation grant, wink wink, and that you would then intimidate the other half with a threat of attachment orders, court proceedings and sticking your hand into their pensions, welfare and wages. Now, newsflash, Taoiseach, none of that has worked.
Newsflash for you, your time is up. Thank you.
57% of those due to pay have not paid and will not pay. More of them cannot pay.
I think you've made your point.
So the moment is now for you to have a moment of clarity A moment of clarity, a moment of vision even, Taoiseach.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And to see the wood for the trees. And to understand that this charge is going nowhere.
Thank you.
And in the public interest, what you need to do is to scrap it.
Thank you.
Not to make
Taoiseach,
smart
thank
condescending or condescending comments about my mathematics. Your own mathematics aren't too hot, Taoiseach. No. But I tell you who have great mathematical skills are lone parents that you ripped off.
No, sorry,
ripped off.
Deputy.
And who?
Deputy, would you please resume your seat? Thank you.
Abolish the charge, Taoiseach.
I think I heard Deputy McDonald say recently that it would have been a very interesting experiment for Ireland to follow Ceisteanna in Greece. Yeah. Did I hear you say that recently, that this is where you want to place our country and our people, and you come in here talking about pensions and pensioners and ordinary people, and your philosophy is to allow to happen here what has happened in Greece. Now, you've made your point about how you look at all the kinds of formula here. Let me repeat again. The reason that Irish Water has been set up is to provide proper water quality and facilities for our people and proper wastewater treatment plants for them. That's an outrageous comment. The second point is that 675,000 householders have registered and paid their contributions. That represents 2 million people. Many people have only received their bills in the very recent past. I expect that they will contribute and pay their bills, as many more will in the future. You make the point that the use of meters, Deputy McDonald, and I'm quite sure you've examined some of these, is first of all to determine the extent of water use. Secondly, to be able to identify whether there are completely inadequate facilities, either leaks or the consequences of lead pipes into houses. Conservation of water, whether you like it or whether you don't want to recognise it, is a really important part of what we have to do here, because taxpayers have been paying for years and years for inadequate facilities, 50% of water leaking away to the ground without ever being used, having been treated. Maybe you don't want to recognise that either. So the extent of investment for the years to come will be of a nature that's going to be able to fix these leaks, fix the inadequate facilities, and provide proper facilities for town, country, business, industry and consumer. And again, I thank those 675,000 householders who have contributed here. As I say, Irish Water expect this, and I expect that to continue for the time ahead, that more and more will contribute what is a very modest charge, €1.15 and €3 per week.
Deputy